Hello everyone, Weather Jamaica here. Welcome to this updated video on weather across Jamaica and the rest of the Caribbean. It is Thursday evening, December 12, 2024. Now before we jump into it, please ensure that you guys like the video. I'd really appreciate it if you guys get this video up to 100 likes. If you don't know by now, that's how the YouTube algorithm works. We all like the video and then the YouTube algorithm pushes the video out to more persons who are in the path of these tropical systems so that we can keep everyone safe, especially during the peak months of Atlantic hurricane season. That's August through to October. Share this video with your friends, your co-workers, your relatives, and even your church brethren, and subscribe if you haven't yet done so. Please ensure that you guys utilize the progress bar at the bottom of the video, as well as the timestamps in the comment section and the video description, so that you can skip to the points in the video that you want to see the most to save time, because you know the videos over here at Weather Jamaica are very long. Leave a comment down below letting me know what that's been like in your ear recently. Also feel free to ask any weather related question that you might have about the future of the weather in your specific area. Alright, so we're going to be looking at the next 7 days in terms of what the Euro as well as the GFS supercomputer models are showing. As usual, we're going to be focusing our attention on the timestamp right here at the top. We're just going to be going on to the next 168 hours. And we're going to be looking at the Atlantic in general, and for reference to Jamaica right here. And as usual, we're looking for all of this that we see on the key on the right. All of these colors are representing rainfall in inches, from the green to all the way up to the red. Alright, so excuse me, let us see what is going to be happening. So heading into Friday, we see that especially northern Jamaica is going to be getting drenched with a lot of rainfall for sure. And then as we head into Saturday, definitely less rainfall than Friday, but there's rainfall for sure, especially on the north coast. Sunday, even more rainfall coming in, and we see the broad trough of low pressure definitely right there to the north of Puerto Rico, to the north of Hispaniola. We see the curvature of the isobars right there. And we see as we head into Monday, lots of rainfall taking place across portions of the Greater Antilles. Tuesday, we see a lot of rainfall in and around Jamaica. Excuse me. We can also see that it's gonna be a lot of white as well, so hit or miss isolated showers for sure. And then we're gonna be stopping right here at the end of the next 168 hours. So this is valid for 12Z on Thursday, December 19. So we can see the rainfall right here across the Western Caribbean, section of Central America to the south of Hispaniola, right here across the Leeward Islands as well. And if we take a look at what the GFS model is showing for the same time period, heading into Friday, we see the rainfall for northern Jamaica. We see the huge isobar of spin, that broad area of low pressure, that trough right here to the north of the Eastern Caribbean for sure. Saturday, we see it's definitely pushing westward, gonna be passing to the north of Puerto Rico, heading into portions of northern Hispaniola. Lots of rainfall definitely expected with this system. We see a lot of rainfall between Jamaica, Cuba, and Haiti right there. We see the heaviest of the rainfall on the dark greens, yellows, oranges, red. Excuse me. Right there to the north of the Leeward Islands. Lots of rainfall right there. But unlike all of that is being sheared off from the main system that should be somewhere right here across eastern Cuba, the southern Bahamas. More than likely the upper level winds pushing all of that towards the east for sure. And we can even see it moving towards that direction as well. And we see as we head into Wednesday, we have a lot of rainfall in and around the Greater Antilles. Quite interesting for December for sure. And then we're going to be stopping right here at the end of the 168 hours. So this is valid for Thursday, December 19, just like what the Euro was showing. So clearly, what we can see in terms of consensus is that there's going to be a lot of moisture right here across the eastern portion of the United States. That's possibly associated with a frontal system. We see a lot of moisture right here across the Leeward Islands, and we see that on both the Euro and the GFS mountains, especially out to sea to the northeast of there. Jamaica, lots of greens in and around the island, but we see whites as well. So it's going to be a mixture on and off clouds, on and off sunshine, and rainfall here and there. And even the accumulated precipitation forecast are showing that within the next 7 days there's going to be rainfall. We see the greens into the yellows, oranges, reds. That represents up to 1 inch of rainfall for majority of the western hemisphere in general. The heaviest rainfall, as usual, is where we have the dark reds into the purples and the pinks. So clearly Belize into northeastern Guatemala, northwestern Honduras, southeastern Nicaragua, Costa Rica right here, Panama right there, the waters to the east of the Windward Islands right here, sections of northeastern Hispaniola, eastern Cuba as well. And even if we take a look at the GFS supercomputer model accumulated precipitation forecast, we see something similar. The same spots that the Euro had highlighted receiving the most rainfall: eastern Cuba, northeastern Hispaniola, right here to the east or the southeast of Trinidad and Tobago, sections of Panama, Costa Rica, Honduras, northeastern Guatemala, and Belize going to be getting on the brunt of the rainfall, especially the water to the northeast of the Leeward Islands. That's where the most rainfall associated with the trough is expected. But regarding the close-up of Jamaica in terms of the rainfall, clearly not much has changed. Both the Euro and the GFS models have the most rainfall. Definitely going to be plaguing northeastern Jamaica within the next 7 days. The Euro a bit more robust, showing even the yellows, the oranges that represent all the way up to 67 millimeters of rainfall. GFS definitely reserved at least up to 25, maybe a little bit more millimeters of rainfall. If we take a look at the surface map of the Atlantic for this evening, we can see the blue spike line right here associated with a cold front, definitely becoming stationary right here across the Western Caribbean. So don't think that it's going to be coming our way at all. We could definitely get in on some cooler than average temperatures tonight into tomorrow, all of that moist northeasterly flow. But clearly, this frontal system is going to be steered back towards the west by the huge ridge of high pressure that is building across the northern portion of North Atlantic. If we take a look right here, we can also see some broken orange lines associated with a trough right here to the east of the Caribbean. All of this is associated with that trough that we mentioned. And if we take a look at the visible satellite images, we can make out all of these entities. The clouds associated with that frontal system that is now stalling out across the northwestern Caribbean. We can also make out the huge batch of clouds associated with that trough of low pressure right here to the east of the Caribbean. The heaviest weather right here to the northeast of the Leeward Islands for sure. And we can also see some clouds right here across the southern main development region associated with the intertropical convergence zone. And we saw that on the surface map. This is that line right here, ITCZ. That's the intertropical convergence zone, basically where the air from the northern hemisphere meets the air from the southern hemisphere, and then we have a lot of rising air, cloud showers and thunderstorms taking place in that spot. We'll be talking more about the rest of the Caribbean a little later on. Let us focus our attention on the prediction that was made in yesterday's video about the weather across Jamaica for today, Thursday, December 12, 2024. It was stated that rain was in the forecast for parts of some northeastern parishes in Jamaica, and that would have been affecting the island on Thursday afternoon. And we know northern parishes, we're talking about Hanover, St. James, Trelawney, St. Anne, St. Mary, Portland. But more than likely, our northeastern parishes, we would have been more focusing on St. Anne, St. Mary, and Portland. And although no post was made today, we definitely saw what took place, because the visible satellite images of Jamaica before the sun went down, it definitely saw that we're getting in on that moist northeasterly flow, bringing that overcast skies, and if not some relief or rainfall to those areas. So we might have had, especially in the hills of Portland, some amount of rainfall. We spoke about this, that's that relief rainfall. This is why Portland is so wet. All of that moist air coming in from off of the Caribbean Sea, pushing inland. Some of this might have also affected section of inland areas of maybe St. Anna and St. Mary, too, definitely dying off into the hilly interior sections of the island, not necessarily spilling into section of southern Jamaica at all. And we saw that even the infrared satellite images weren't showing anything in terms of thunderstorm activity. We see that the thunderstorm season is definitely wrapping up as we speak. Not much thunderstorm activity at all, just some low level flow from the northeast these days. Excuse me. And to confirm what we saw on the visible satellite images, we have the crossroads camera right here looking north towards the hills of St. Andrew. You can make out some of these clouds that were definitely basically stationary across those spots, the hills of St. Andrew, because of the northeasterly flow coming in across Portland into St. Mary. Definitely keeping most of those clouds across those areas, maybe some isolated shower or two in the hills, if not on the other side of the hills, the north coast for sure. While on the southern side, we're talking about crossroads in general. Clearly we see that it was sunny, maybe some partly cloudy skies, maybe near the foot of the hills of St. Andrew right there. That indeed confirmed the forecast for today. But sure, even the accumulated precipitation for the past 24 hours from the CIMH, that's the Caribbean Institute for Meteorology and Hydrology website, confirms that there wasn't much being reported today. Clearly, northern Jamaica was the recipient of most in the way of rainfall for sure, with all of the bluish, well, not bluish, grayish, purplish, all of that represents rainfall, especially across inland areas of Portland. Alright, so if we take a look at what's happening right now, let's look at the very latest still image. Let's see what's taking place. Clearly we can't even see much taking place. The latest still image is as of 01:35 UTC, so that's 8:35 p.m. So this just came out 7 minutes ago, considering that it's 8:42 p.m. right now. And we can make out some milky, whitish or grayish colors represent cloud cover, especially across sections of some northern parishes. Maybe some dots of clouds right here up to the southeast of us. Taking a look at the very latest Cuban Doppler radar imagery, we can actually make out some rainfall within all of these clouds. We see the greens, we see the yellows that represent some moderate to heavy rainfall right here between Cuba and Haiti, and look at the direction that is pushing towards. Definitely pushing towards the southwest, so some of this could definitely affect sections of Portland, sections of St. Mary, sections of especially St. Anne, Trelawney, maybe even reaching as far as St. James and Hanover later on tonight into tomorrow for sure. That northeasterly flow is definitely a serious thing. I can definitely bring about a lot of rainfall to the north coast for sure. And if we take a look at the Guantanamo Bay Cuban naval radar imagery, we can make out that rainfall as well. We can see the rain bands right here between Cuba and Jamaica for sure. Let's animate these images. We can actually see it pushing from the eastern coast of Cuba all the way down towards Jamaica as we speak. If we take a look at the Guantanamo Bay, well, the Cayman radar, not the Guantanamo Bay, we can actually make out some rainfall to the far south of the Cayman Islands. We see the bluish and the greenish colors represent some weak to some slightly moderate rainfall. If we take a look at the latest flat bridge camera, what's happening right now, we can hear, I think we can make out those tree frogs, if not crickets. Let's look at the live view. Alright, here we go. Not much taking place. Real Cobra definitely calm right now. As of 8:44 p.m. People in their vehicles going about their business for sure. Nothing significant taking place right now in terms of bad weather across the Bogwalk Gorge. If we take a look, by the way, I'd like for you to keep in mind that if you'd like to see more live streams like this, just visit See Jamaica on YouTube. They have live streams like this all day, every day for your viewing pleasure, and it's all for free. So subscribe today so that you don't miss out. If we take a look at the temperatures right now, we can still have 25 degrees Celsius in both Montego Bay and Kingston. And by about 4 a.m. on a Friday, temperatures should dip down. Look at this. This is saying 22 degrees Celsius in Kingston, 25 degrees Celsius in Montego Bay. On the Euro, it's 24 degrees Celsius in Montego Bay, 23 degrees Celsius in Kingston. But trust me, it could definitely be cooler than that, because looking at the temperature forecast for tomorrow, this map from the GFS is showing 18 on Friday, which is actually 1 p.m. on Friday. And it's very interesting that we have Jamaica right here embedded in some dark shades of blues. That's possibly representative of maybe even close to 3 degrees Celsius above normal or below normal temperatures, not above normal. Above normal is the yellows, oranges, and reds. So it's below normal temperatures that are gonna be taking over the place tomorrow. So walk with those sweaters, even although it's below normal. Especially if you're in Manchester, it could definitely feel way below normal. Could definitely feel like Christmas. If we take a look at the average temperatures for the month of December, that's around 87 degrees Fahrenheit. 87 degrees Fahrenheit, when you calculate it to Celsius, is about 30 degrees Celsius. So we're talking about anywhere from 27 to 30, and it could definitely feel cooler than average, especially if you live on the north coast where those northeasterly winds are going to be expected, or if you live in Manchester, or if it's cloudy in your area or windy. So look out for those cooler than average temperatures. Could definitely be even cooler than the 27 degrees Celsius for sure. And if it's gonna be hot for you guys, especially if you live on the south coast where it's normally hot, just know that there are gonna be some outages expected. My GPS online has some maintenance outage taking place in Windsor Lodge in Trelawney for Friday, December 13. Friday the 13th, guys. My goodness. I hear that's a bad luck day. Let's hope that we're all on our P's and Q's, because boy, December has been really doing the most in terms of bad news. Either way, we see that 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. there's going to be a maintenance outage for that part of Trelawney. That's Windsor Lodge. We have another outage advisory out for Aleppo District in St. Mary. That's between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. as well. And finally, Golden Grove in St. Anne, 9:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. So if you live in those areas, or if you have friends or relatives who live in or work in those areas, let them know that a power outage is coming their way. Because we know that when we have the power outages, especially if the place is hot, we won't have our fans to cool us down, not to mention the AC. But given that tomorrow is expected to be cooler than average, as a matter of fact, I feel the cooler than average temperatures right now in my part of St. Thomas. Definitely cool. For me, I don't know about you. Let me know what the temperature is like in you guys here. Either way, we all know the tips to beat the heat. So if it's going to be too hot for you, seek shade when outside. Try eating cold food such as salads and fruits. Make sure you get enough sleep and rest if you're feeling tired. Take a cool shower or bath to help you cool down. And I cannot stress enough how important it is to always drink lots of water. Put away the sugary drinks, drink water instead. Taking a look at the dry air map, we know the dry air is represented by the yellows, the oranges, the reds, and what's within those reds. And we see that there's a lot of moist air taking place across the southern main development region, as well as where we have that upper level trough for sure. We see that there's a lot of dry air to the north of the intertropical convergence zone, to the north of the trough, to the west of the trough, across the Caribbean in general, especially across the Gulf of Mexico, and the area to the east of the United States. Lots of dry air across those areas. But if we take a look at the Saharan dust forecast, we see that the Saharan dust is definitely dwindling the more west it goes. We see that it's definitely stringing out from east-west across the southern main development region into northeastern South America and portion of the Windward Islands right here. And we see that it's definitely dying out when it heads into the Leeward Islands as well, and we're indeed grateful for that. We know the Saharan dust can cause very hazy skies, not to mention trigger some amount of respiratory illnesses, asthma, sinusitis in some persons, and we're indeed grateful that it's not that vigorous of a plume with those dark shades of brown. If we take a look at the wave forecast for tomorrow, we see the blues, we see the purples. We know the blues represents what we see on the key on the bottom right, the 0.5 all the way to 1.5 meter wave height. The purples 2 to 3 meter wave height, and that's because the winds, we see the winds right here, the greens into the yellows that represent 15 to 20, maybe up to 25 knots, and we see the general flow. Look at the winds right here coming in from the north across Puerto Rico and Hispaniola, coming in from the northeast between the Windward Passage, that's between Cuba and Haiti, across the Bahamas, some strong northeasterly winds for sure, all across the basin. We can already see that on the visible satellite imagery. If we look closely, let us look, we can see that flow from the north
if you look at the low level pattern of these clouds around that broad area of spin, which is the trough of low pressure, we can definitely make out that northeasterly flow across the basin in general. That's that low level flow. The winds are definitely pushing all of these low level clouds towards that direction. And regarding the close-up of Jamaica, we see what's going to be expected. Some strong northeasterly winds gusting anywhere from 10 all the way up to 25 knots for sure. Definitely going to be windy on the north coast, less winds on the south coast. So let's see if we get some daytime heating rainfall, even although the models are not showing that. We see the upper level winds going to be coming in from the west and northwest. Either way, in terms of rainfall, this map from the Euro and this map from the GFS are both showing 7 a.m. on Friday. And we can definitely see the blues represent rainfall, especially across Portland, St. Mary, St. Anne, maybe a section of Hanover, St. James getting in on the mix. Excuse me. And we see that both the Euro and the GFS models are in consensus with that forecast. By about 3 p.m., definitely less rainfall in the forecast, but we could definitely still get rainfall. We see some blues represent rainfall across Portland. We also see a speck of blue right there across St. Anne. Interesting. Let's see which one of the models win. Either way, it's going to be looking like less rainfall for Friday afternoon. But who knows, maybe we get rainfall for sure with that northeasterly flow. And we see that both accumulated precipitation forecast maps are in consensus. That is going to be raining somewhere across Jamaica within the next 24 hours. This map from the Euro and this map from the GFS are showing all the rainfall that's expected from now until 10 p.m. on Friday. And we see the greens into the yellows on the GFS right here up to 0.3 of an inch of rainfall. The Euro showing up to at least 0.48, maybe even more. Between the border of Portland and St. Mary, quite an interesting forecast. And we see the southern portion of the island definitely dry for sure. And it's expected we are in the first month of our dry season. And usually for Kingston, whose bar graph is being shown right here at the top, we usually receive up to 25 millimeters of rainfall. That's about an inch of rainfall. In Montego Bay, whose bar graph is being shown right here at the bottom, we usually receive close to 4 inches. That's about 90 millimeters of rainfall. And I'd like for you to keep in mind that if you'd like to find out what your specific parish usually receives throughout the year for the month of December, you can visit weatherandclimate.com. And you can use this nice little graphic right here to do the calculations, because know that the rainfall that we receive on the rain gauge is measured in inches and millimeters. And we know that 1 inch of rainfall is about the same as 25 millimeters of rainfall. Alright, so that's it for the forecast across Jamaica. Let us focus our attention on the rest of the Caribbean. So as stated, we have some clouds associated with that frontal system, bring overcast skies and rainfall to sections as well as windy conditions to sections of Florida, the Bahamas, Cuba, section of Central America, definitely getting nailed as we speak. We're talking about Belize, the Yucatan Peninsula, Mexico, Guatemala, section of Honduras getting in on the mix. So too section of the Cayman Islands getting on that northeasterly flow. We see the clouds associated with that trough that's expected to push westward and then possibly affect portions of the Greater Antilles this weekend. We see that strong upper level flow of the clouds from west to east, that cirrus cloud. And we see the clouds bring all of that moisture into northeastern South America for sure, associated with the intertropical convergent zone. If we take a look at the Doppler radar images of the northeastern Caribbean, clearly we're going to be seeing another flow like what we mentioned earlier. We see some hit or miss isolated shores in and around the Leeward Islands, in and around eastern Puerto Rico, the British Virgin Islands. And if we load these images from earlier today, about 3:05, we can definitely make out the flow of the rainfall. Look, do you see it? Pushing down from the north and pushing towards the south. You can actually make out the flow of the rainfall, all courtesy of the low level wind flow around that trough as we spoke about. We see all of the rainfall pushing from north to south. If we take a look at the Barbados radar, we can make out that there's not much taking place across Barbados right now. Some hit or miss isolated shores to the north of St. Vincent, to the west of Martinique. Some rainfall in and around the Grenadines, to the northwest of Grenada. We can also see some rainfall surrounding Tobago, some of this already affecting land, and some rainfall to the east of Trinidad. Taking a look at the weather we've uploaded our images. Look at that heavy rainfall coming into portion of eastern Nicaragua. Some rainfall already affecting portion of northeastern Guatemala, northwestern Honduras, Belize, in and around the ABC Islands, getting on some isolated shores as we speak. If we take a look at where the rainfall is expected within the next 24 hours, this map from the Euro and this map from the GFS are both showing all the rainfall that's expected from now up until 10 p.m. on a Friday. And we can clearly see that the northern Bahamas, Cuba, sections of Belize, northeastern Guatemala, Honduras, areas that are already getting it, more still to come. Section of Nicaragua, Costa Rica, Panama, section of Colombia, western Venezuela, northern and eastern Venezuela, section of northern Haiti and northern Dominican Republic, portions of Puerto Rico, section of the US and British Virgin Islands, Anguilla, maybe sections of St. Kitts and Nevis, St. Martin. We also see rainfall definitely in store for portions of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Barbados, Grenada, Trinidad and Tobago, section of Guyana, Suriname and the French Guiana as well. And we see that both the Euro and the GFS models are in consensus with this forecast. I know that when they're in consensus like this, the chances of it actually happening are much higher. Alright, so that's it for today. Thanks for watching.